Hello there, my name is Kayla Williams, and I want to talk to you a little bit about speech and language disorders. There's a big, long, lengthy definition on the American Speech, Language, and Hearing Association's website, but basically, speech and language disorders have to do with the production of sound, of speech, and the understanding, the processing of language. There are several signs and symptoms of a disorder of this type, such as deletion of sounds, adding extra sounds, things like that. There also can be some signs with the way that the mouth is formed or the tongue. My son, my youngest, he held food in his mouth as a child. I don't know why he did that, or I don't know what it was about, but so he couldn't, when it was time for him to talk, he had trouble putting his tongue at the roof of his mouth to make some of those speech sounds that he needed to do. So things like that. As a parent, I know myself, especially a new parent, you may miss some signs or symptoms, and that's okay. Typically, if the parent doesn't catch or have concerns and bring it to the pediatrician, then a teacher will, or the pediatrician will bring the concerns to the parents. Typically around ages 3 to 5 is when you can really start noticing those speech and language disorders. And if a concern is brought to your attention, it's best to go ahead and ask questions, begin the evaluation process. It's better in this situation to be safe than sorry, because number one, the evaluation process is not harmful to the child. It's not bad. It doesn't hurt them. It begins with a hearing test, and then from there it will progress to maybe a interview to see how the child processes language or speaks, makes those sounds, and then from there there may be more formal testing, just basically speaking to a speech therapist. She'll ask questions, that kind of thing. It's not bad at all. I've been through it with 2 of my children, and the earlier that you get intervention for a speech and language disorder, the better. Research shows that children who receive that early intervention are more likely to catch up to their same age peers. And not only are they more likely, they'll do it quicker. They'll make quicker progress. For example, my oldest son, he was in kindergarten before I realized he needed services and before I asked his pediatrician about it. I thought that when he said "woses," it was the cutest thing ever, but really he couldn't make the sound. Like, he couldn't form his mouth to make that sound. And that's a very mild disorder, but we were able to get him caught up by 2nd grade. It was so early on that, and it was such a mild case, it didn't take much for him. And his peers, being that they were all so young, they didn't realize that he had a speech disorder. It never affected him socially, and I think that's because we caught it early on. Now, my 5-year-old, my now 5-year-old, we caught his speech disorder when he was 3. And he is now 5, and he's already been released from services. So in conclusion, it's super important to get that early intervention, ask questions, get services for your child.